You're my little iPad baby. You love drawing, and you are like so good at creating like all of like you are. You're so
like
good
such a
with
sick
it.
burn and also really sweet at the same time.
But you're so good. Like.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
You're listening to There's a Lot to Unpack here, and this episode is different. I'm so excited.
Extra to unpack today.
Yeah, we have a lot to unpack today.
So much we needed friends.
We got data today.
Yes, yeah, we do. We have like actual data and numbers and things, some of which I understand and probably a lot of which I don't.
If you understand only some of it, then I'm definitely like down on the bottom end.
Yeah. This episode is for all of our astrology girlies. Shout out. Yeah, today's different. We have guests. This is Biddy. This is Pooja. I'll give you guys some space to introduce yourselves, but they're wonderful podcast hosts also. I unironically listen to their podcast as a stan. If you haven't listened to it yet, I'll link it in the description so you can go check it out. But welcome, friends. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about yourselves and or your podcast? I feel like you can probably introduce yourselves more effectively than I can.
What you don't see on our podcast behind the scenes is that Pooja and I usually have chips together, do a little dancing, a little like sneaking into the mood of getting the podcast ready, and then we start. So it starts as a hang, because then we're not like, okay, and how are we going to say this?
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm glad that this is conversational and that you all have this flow going, because listeners at home, this set is so beautiful.
Thank you.
It's immersive.
I'm very proud of it.
Yeah. My name is Biddy. I feel like we should give our big three. I think that would be a useful
I love that.
intro. I'm a Cancer sun, Aries moon, Libra rising. I like to say it's like people pleaser sun and moon, but like spice, or people pleaser sun rising, spicy moon. Like
Spice.
we got layers. I
relate to that, honestly.
Yeah, Pooja and I became friends. Like, has it been 2 years? We need to celebrate.
Like a friendiversary. I love that.
Yeah. Pooja was talking about like making a podcast, and I'm a hype woman. That's my mood.
I was gonna ask whose idea it was.
Yeah.
Pooja's definitely big idea
Nice.
woman. And I was like, yes, you have to. It's perfect. Let's keep thinking of like what titles it could be. And then mutual reception came to us.
That was your idea. I feel like I have to make it very clear that
Okay,
that was
thank
you for giving
Biddy's
me
genius.
Just in the way that we like receive and reflect each other. I think a really beautiful part about astrology for like self-exploration is that you can put things into words where you're like, I can only describe this as a feeling, but I don't know where it comes from. I am obsessed with being like, and this one goes in this box, and this one goes in this box.
I love that.
It feels good. It feels really good. And then the cool part is that you start to unpack the like ways that we relate to each other and how we reflect each other. And what I like about this is then you can see it too in the chart. Like Pooja and I have opposite moons, like almost to the right exact degree. And so it's so nice. She's got a softer moon, I got a spicy moon. So it's so nice to like hype each other up in the right way, where I'm like, yeah, Pooja, be mad at that. Can we cuss?
Of course.
Yeah,
Are you mad at me?
Welcome to the channel.
We're new here. But I'll be like, yeah, Pooja, be fucking mad at that person. They did this. I'll like add, flames
This
and
big
oil.
Aries moon energy.
All the
my God.
gasoline.
All the gasoline. I'm like, I'm going to help you feel this feeling by feeling it with you. But then Pooja's like, hey, Libra moon perspective, might you want to consider these realms of possibility that aren't about setting yourself and others on fire? So it's so nice to have
love that.
And you're just wonderful in general.
So my name is Pooja. I am a Virgo rising, which is very active at the moment. Every time I get into a social setting, I'm like, oh, there she is.
You're like, it's happening again.
Yeah, I'm like, oh God. Virgo rising, Libra moon, Gemini sun. So eventually the Gemini does come out, and I'm like, oh, I was tricking you. For a second, you thought I was quiet. Biddy and I met when I was going through a crazy Neptune transit. So basically just like tapping into spirituality, feeling a little bit unhinged / untethered. And I was like, okay, I need a crystal for this. I need something that will ground me, because I feel like I'm literally floating away.
Yeah.
I went to the metaphysical shop that Biddy worked at, and then she was like, oh, hey.
Oh, so you guys met because you went in
That's so cool. I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I love that.
And like the average person that came in, I would, be helpful and then
course.
try to toss like softball astrology in. But Pooja was ready and I was like, oh, she
It's like that moment when you're like, these are my people. Like I have found my person.
Are we going to be best friends? Yes, we are.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then it kind of just evolved from there. We had like Thursday dates for a while, which is it's Jupiter's day in astrology, so we would do like really expansive things together.
little
Yeah,
adventures.
just like
so
teach
fun.
each other things, and then just snowballed into me being like, oh, I want to do this thing, and Biddy was like, yes, do the thing, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do the thing, and then she's like, here's a name for the thing, and I'll do it with you. And I was like, okay.
That's dope. I love that.
I'm always so curious. How did you, like, both of you, how did you decide, like, I'm into astrology, I guess?
Do you want to go first?
Because I feel like, especially like us growing up, it was very much the, like, what was that magazine?
Cosmopolitan.
Yes.
Oh,
like the daily,
yes.
the daily
You know what's-
horoscopes.
You know what's so funny too? Because I was thinking about that, but I feel like for me, like my perspective of it before learning anything about it was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like the woo woo, like older aunt who
Yes.
like always smells like
Lives in
incense.
Sedona,
Yes,
like-
yeah. And you're like, sure, Tabitha, like whatever you say. You know what I'm
I don't
saying?
know
Like,
anyone named Tabitha. I've
that's the
literally
point.
never met a
That's
person.
why I used that name.
Good point. Good point.
But no, I feel like that was kind of the thing. It was either like Cosmo magazine, like Sun Sign Astrology, which is like very softball kind
Like
of stuff.
so vague and
or
cover,
it's
just
like I don't know what she's doing, but like go off, just like away from me though, So I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a threshold that people reach with
yes.
like,
Like when did you?
yeah,
decide,
like
get
when
both
did you
feet
cross
in?
that threshold or like how?
When did we dive in feet first?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I
No,
think I
I
did
think-
not mean to start with such a loaded question.
For the history.
We've come to interrogate you.
I'm just always
Welcome
so
to the
interested.
podcast. Thanks
You
for
both
coming.
have so much Scorpio that this has to be a probe. There's no other choice.
I mean, for me, astrology was just kind of always my world, so it
Yeah.
was kind of a given. Like my mom's a hippie, so she.
Oh, okay.
Love
okay.
that.
Yeah. I was raised with her being like, "Oh, damn, Mercury retrograde," just like shaking her fist at the
You never
sky.
had a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Like,
cool though.
because she's a Gemini too, so she was
Okay.
just always very aware of like what was going on with Mercury and,
Yeah.
and the stars. So, it just always to me it seems so natural and normal.
Yeah.
But it really kind of took a huge role in my life. When I was 23, and I'm laughing, and I'm sure Biddy's laughing too, because when you're 23, you're in your what's called 12th house year, which basically is a year where we're all like just kind of dealing with
Going
our
through it.
shit.
I'm trying to think what was happening when we were 23.
It's self-sabotagey. A lot. I feel like a lot of us are drinking and being like, is this good for me anymore?
I feel like that was the year before COVID.
When we were 23. No.
How 2020 was 3 years ago, so we were 25. So 2019 we were 24. So 2018.
Okay.
That was like,
Was that a cluster of a year?
I feel like it was. There was something happening in that time, or like that was a time right after something happened that I'm not going to say on the podcast because I don't want to out your profession. But I think it was that.
Sorry to keep secrets. But yes, I think it was that. It was definitely that. I think
Yeah.
you're right. Yes.
You and I were like having a time trying to like get our schedules and like our shit aligned.
The long distance
Yes.
relationship thing. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was like a weird communication thing, I feel.
Yeah.
I feel like loneliness and distance makes sense for a 12th house year.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
I was shit at communicating with my partner, and it'd be like, project, and then like, oh, this is actually about me.
Yeah.
Yeah. We find ourselves.
Okay,
in that
sorry,
boat,
we
don't
interrupted you.
Sorry.
Please continue.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So it's a year of all of the things that I feel like we've talked about. For me, it was a lot of like health issues. So I was like in the hospital multiple times. Crazy story that I feel like we need to talk about on
We
our podcast
should.
at some point. But I was in Mexican federal prison for 2.5 days. It was nothing I did. It was like this crazy incident. That
So
was just
stressful.
Like, yeah. So it's just, but that's very 12th house. 12th house is like literally imprisonment and hospitals. So when you're in a 12th house year, there's just a lot that can come up for
And you
you.
like got it all.
Yeah, I had it all.
Yeah,
And it's
wow.
very like
Tick, tick.
soul searching. It's very, you're just confronted with a lot of things. So during that year, that's when I was like, I lost like a job, I lost a friendship, obviously all the things I just mentioned. So I was really at a place where I was like, who am I without these things, without a job, without like these friends, without all these things that I've kind of like shaped or like wrapped my identity around.
Damn.
So
The universe was like, do your introspection and like now,
exactly.
all at once.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
So I like opened up my birth chart, and at that point I had been getting more into it. Like I was learning like, okay, there's a big 3. It's not just your sun sign. Cusp signs don't exist. So yeah, it kind of just snowballed. And then I was like, okay, I want to learn how to like read a birth chart and do this for real. And then, you know, I also have ADHD. So it became my hyperfixation that still hasn't gone away. So
yeah, I resonate with that a lot. Yeah. I feel like I saw the like listing for the astrology classes that I took with you go up, and I was like, I asked my friend about it. And they were like, no, I don't think I want to go. And I was like, I'm going to go. And so I went for the first batch of classes, and I was like, wow, like this is life-changing.
Gripping your seat.
Yeah. And it just became this thing that like because you guys have talked about this on your podcast, but like the cool thing about astrology, I think, is that at whatever level you dive into, there's always more. Like there's never
That's what it feels like when you come home from class.
Yes.
I'm like, I thought I was doing pretty good with the stuff from last week, and then you're like, no, fuck all of that.
Yeah, like we're turning a whole new page. But it's cool in a way because it is like a lifelong study, you know? And like in the way that you can learn about the actual thing, but also in the way that you can learn about yourself, you know?
That part.
Like there's just all of this untapped discovery and potential and like parts of yourselves that you like might not have known or like had space for before now. And so like digging through a birth chart and all of that is like, what the fuck? Like I've never thought about this part of myself before, but like now I want to, you know? I think it's cool. It's an interesting tool in that regard.
I like that your pull to astrology was always there, and then there was like a second coming for it. Because I think that's how it was for me. My parents, not hippies, but my older sister, a Scorpio, witchy a little, gave me this, like, I think it has a purple cover. I don't know the author, but it's like, what's your sign? And it has little tabs for each of the signs. And then like, okay, here's how you relate to if you have like a Capricorn boss, a Capricorn cat, like they would break it down cat and dog.
Wait, what?
Funny.
That's so cool.
But like friendships and relationships. And I was like, this is so rich. Like, I had to look on my crushes and see if we were compatible. We were not.
That's always my question I ask, is if you use it for good or for evil.
Both always.
Yes.
We're here for the gray areas. But yeah, I was drawn to that book and was like, oh, Cancer sun, that's it. And I was like, all of the rest of that I am is explained by the Cancer moodiness for sure. No. I don't think it was 23. I think it was like 21-ish. Started dating my partner, and he's a Gemini, and we talk a lot, and he just kind of encouraged me to keep exploring it, honestly, just in like validating me. And I was like, I don't understand myself. And as soon as I knew enough about my chart, I was like, yeah, it feels like you're 4 people because like your chart is doing this and they're all scrapping with each other. Of course you feel that way. And I didn't mean to ever, this is silly, but I didn't mean to ever help anyone with this. Like, it was not for others. It was definitely like, this is for me, selfish exploration. And then with any special interest, I'm like, actually, I need everyone around me to get into this. This is the light and the way and the truth. And I'm going to be obnoxious
Everyone is going to care about this right now.
Exactly.
Yes.
I need you to meet me at this hype level, and I'm not going to shut up about it. So I just feel lucky that it's a popular topic, because this could have been anything.
That's true. That is kind of lucky, I guess. I feel like you're slightly less interested in astrology than I am, to be fair. I feel like you're kind of doing the partner thing of validating me and being like, yes, bitch, but also like, I don't know what's going on, you know?
I'm just here for the vibes.
Yeah. But I feel like I had a very different entry point for it because I grew up very religious, or like had like this sort of very like religious cultural background, and like deconstructing and like moving away from all of that was kind of weird, because I feel like my channel, we talk about deconstruction a lot, and like people have shared their own journeys with that, you know. And there's this weird vacuum that exists in like the immediately post deconstruction part of your life where you're like, what the fuck am I supposed to fucking do now? Like, I don't know what the fuck to believe about like the world or life or like ethics or whatever. And so it's like this weird time that you're grappling with like ethics and morality and like, you know, like, do I believe in any kind of overarching spiritual whatever the fuck. And so I think new age stuff like that is kind of interesting because it's similar. Like there are a lot of people, I'm curious about your guys' opinion about this actually. There are a lot of people who are like, astrology is just religion repackaged and it's the same thing. It's like very
It's based off
judgmental.
of math.
That's what I'm fucking saying. But I feel like it does kind of serve a similar purpose in the sense that, like, for a lot of people, there's a sense of like ease and peace in like having some kind of overarching thing, right? Like some kind of governing force.
Totally.
And when it's not a deity and when it is like based in math and like, you know, astronomy essentially, there's kind of like an interesting Venn diagram that happens there where like it is kind of evidence-based. And like, you know, if you've been on the channel for any length of time, you know, I'm an evidence-based girly. I care a lot about research and like all of that stuff. But there is kind of like a woo element to it that's like fun, you know? I feel like it's kind of an interesting crossover. I'm curious about your guys' opinion about like the religion thing, though. Please say more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are looking for meaning, and like I said earlier, I was like really pushing this on everyone in my life, and you know, they humor me or they're into it too, but I think there's an element of everyone's looking for something. This is a way to understand yourself, and this is just one tool of many.
Yes.
Like my older sister, her thing is yoga, and she was doing the same thing I was, being pushy and being like, no, this is the one true tool. So people can get like really like evangelical about their tool, and it's just good to know. And same for religion, it's good to know which tool is yours, and that it's not for everyone, and that's fucking fine. I'm so done, and I have been done for years. Like trying to convince bros about astrology. I'm like, I don't care if you don't believe in this. You follow the stock market. That's funny to me.
Literally.
Oh, yes. Oh, my
Or
God.
like the same way, like that thing we saw where like people who are like, people would probably feel a lot less religious if they could just went to concerts more regularly.
Oh, my God.
And
Yes.
just, like,
Have you seen like the memes and the jokes about this?
Like, oh, do I like religion or do I just love community?
Yes. Yes.
And
Well, and
it's
that like
there's no third
euphoria that
there's
you
no
feel.
third space
Yes.
for shit.
Yes.
So like,
Yes.
no shit, I'm gonna go do something for free where I can just show up and like my friends are there.
Yeah, and it feels really validating,
Yes.
and there's this like weird euphoric thing because we're all singing together and we all feel like emotionally connected. Like, of course, people fucking
We have
like church.
little peanut
you know?
brains when it comes to community and stuff like that. That like,
No, yeah. Well, and like no shade if you're religious, obviously, like that's none of my goddamn business. But like I think there is like a lot of crossover there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Like people just want to be in community, man. People just want to know people who like the same things that they do.
Same thing with sports. Like,
Oh
if
my
I
God.
have,
Okay, but I hate
I'm gearing
sports,
up. I'm
though.
gearing up for it at work. I'm ready for it.
Listen.
The only conversations for the
Fantasy
next 6
football.
months.
Oh,
Yeah,
good Lord.
God.
the drafts are already starting.
Do
But,
you
like,
get emotionally involved in it? Because that's the
me?
part.
Oh, I don't partake at all. Oh no, this is a safe space. We are fine. No, I will
Thank
have to
God.
steel myself to listening. But also,
Yeah.
it cracks me up that like you motherfuckers know everything about this character or
Yes.
this character. They are characters.
They are. They're like characters in the
This
TV show.
actor.
Your little
But no, like all
Yeah.
their stats and stuff. But then like someone knows a lot about their big three, and you're like,
Yes.
fucking loser.
Yeah,
Like,
that's so embarrassing.
Bitch, it's the same thing.
Like literally, what are you talking about?
yes.
Yeah. I guess that turned into kind of a judgy conversation really quickly, but that's fine. This is what we're here
the people that were
for.
listening to this are probably not doing fantasy
That's true.
football, if we're being honest. So your audience doesn't strike me as, and if you do, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but just also
Yeah,
acknowledging that
that's
like
fair.
everyone can have their thing and it's cool.
Yes.
It's also probably a minority of our demographic if we're being real.
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay, so let's chat a little bit about what we're actually doing
Oh,
today.
what are we unpacking? Yeah, what are we actually unpacking today?
I'm so excited. So I feel like there's probably an actual official astrology term for what it is that we're doing today. But basically, Erin and I, for those of you who don't know, Erin and I are high school sweethearts.
you tell everyone all the time. I think you probably know.
It's very cute. And so we've known each other for a very long time. We've been together for a very long time. But what some of you might not know is that we were actually born like 19 days apart.
At the same hospital.
Yes. We grew up like 10 minutes down the street from each other.
Didn't know each other.
Didn't know it until we went to high school together. And so I've always been curious about our birth charts because we talked about this before we started filming, but they're very similar because we were born so closely together. For those of you who don't know anything about astrology, it's like a fucking map of the sky basically for the day that you were born. And when you were born close together, you're going to have a lot of the same placements because the planets don't move all that fast, except for like the ones that are really close to the Earth. So we asked you guys if you would help us sort of interpret and understand like what the fuck all is going on there. So can you guys, first of all, can you probably more eloquently explain what it is that we're doing today?
No, you did a good job.
Thank you.
We're looking at synastry, which is about the ways that charts intersect and what they kind of bring out of each other, the gaps that they fill.
Okay.
And now I'm going to Pooja because you're going to say it better than me, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, so we're going to look at, I specifically am going to look at your guys' synastry chart. Okay. So I like to think of synastry as this is how you two are impacting each other as individuals. So
cute.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah, it's sweet. And then we're going to look at your guys' birth charts independently as well. Okay, so fun. Just we can kind of like flesh you guys out as your own autonomous beings, right?
Okay,
and then Biddy's going to look at your guys' composite chart.
Yeah.
And to me, the composite is really the chart of the relationship. So it's less of how you two are impacting each other and more of just like, oh, this is how you two are when you're actually like together. It's like the chemistry of like, okay, this is the final product of what we've been doing here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. I think there's a lot of value in analyzing it as like our relationship being like its own sort of thing because it is kind of an organism in a way, you know. Yeah. But also I think a lot of the journey that we've been on, especially in being polyamorous, is like disentangling our identities.
Oh, the autonomy, like totally.
Yes, we are like so painfully enmeshed, which is like sort of cute, but then also but it's like
also not.
No, it's not.
Super not cute a lot.
So I feel like that's actually really apt. That's cool that you guys kind of took a dual approach to that because we've sort of been doing our own. Yeah. Work around that for the last couple of months, I think. Well, like a couple of years, I guess.
I was gonna say it's been a lot.
Yeah, it's been longer than that, I guess. Okay, cool. So, I mean, where do we want to start? Is there like a preferred way to do this, or like if you guys were
the glasses are on first and foremost.
Also, I've never done an official reading of any sort.
Yeah. In the classes that I've taken with you, I've been, very into my birth chart.
Yes.
But you haven't really, like, I've looked at yours for you.
I've seen it. I've seen it. I'm familiar with.
Seen the symbols.
Yeah.
I'm aware of it.
But I think we probably talked about yours less as an individual, so I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm ready to be enlightened, I think.
Should we start with yours then?
Yes.
I think that's...
Let's spill the tea on Erin.
Yay!
Mickey's been waiting.
I love this.
I love that you're a Sag too, because I feel like your openness to this is, I mean, obviously refreshing, but also so fun because what is a Sag but a seeker of like additional information? And so you're like,
we talk about that all the time though.
Yes.
Mickey never wants to know how stuff works. And I'm like, why don't you want to know? Like, you need to know.
Erin wants to know the answers in the background and
the
like
Virgo rising too, right?
So it's important. It's important.
Yeah. You are kind of that way.
I am that way.
That's so funny.
I feel like I agree with Biddy. I like your openness to astrology, especially with your Mercury in Sagittarius, because our Mercury is how we think about things and how we process things. So Mercury in Sag is very like big picture thinking. So for you, it's like, yeah, astrology, that makes sense. It's like you're looking at things from this very like philosophical, like higher lens.
Like
it's like, duh. Yeah. And plus, you're Virgo rising, so it's like...
What?
Let him live.
I'm taking it in. What did I do?
Nothing. I'm just laughing because obviously I have the background about our relationship, and so like it's all coming together. It's all making sense.
Yes, I love doing couples readings because I feel like it's like you get to like learn about him and like get this validation, and like some things are like, oh, okay, understand, and then vice versa, and then you like learn about each like kind of the dynamic of both of you.
Excellent. Yeah. So am I gonna get some leeway after this, hopefully?
Maybe.
The chart, please work in my favor.
I love it. And then, of course, you're Virgo rising too. So I am as well. And I'm saying this because part of why I personally love astrology is because I feel like it makes so much sense. Mm-hmm. Like, Virgo is like, okay, this needs to be evidence-based. It needs to be factual. It needs to be practical. It needs to be logical. Like, and I feel like astrology kind of does that, especially the more you learn about it, the more you just keep getting like the evidence of like, oh, this thing happened during this transit. That's very on the nose. That's very like, wow.
I feel so strongly about that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we very much base our household now around.
We do. I'm not even joking. We launched this podcast based on when, like, astrologically it made the most sense.
Because you're smart.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes.
It felt important.
So yes, I just really like that because your mind is made for it and it just makes sense to you. That's something I thought was interesting. We're gonna kind of go on a tangent here, but hopefully I can wrap it up and
That's
make
the whole
it
podcast,
make sense.
honestly.
No, literally.
So feel free.
So something I thought was interesting is in your guys' synastry, which again is how your two charts or how you guys kind of interact with each other. You guys actually don't have any prominent sun, moon aspects between you guys.
Oh.
And I thought that was interesting because normally couples do.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Is that the whole moon phase challenge thing? What was that?
No.
I also feel like
slightly
that's
different.
like,
I feel like that has to be bunk, right? Like that can't be.
yes.
I don't know what that is.
Well, it's like the idea that like your moon phase and your partner's moon phase need to perfectly intersect and make a full moon.
No,
Yeah.
Like,
that's ridiculous.
That has to be ridiculous. Yes.
I also just feel like the odds of that happening are just astronomical.
I
there's
think
just
it's
one
fair.
girly with a full moon and one guy with a new moon that was like, oh my god.
No, literally. I've seen that and I'm like, that doesn't mean anything.
That
Like,
doesn't
you have a
count.
full moon all on your own.
It's not the
Like, what the
same.
fuck?
You're not completing anybody.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what? That's so weird. Okay, sorry. Please continue.
That's so funny. But yeah, so I thought that was really interesting because again, normally couples do, and it's just basically like the expression of like, oh, I inherently like see who you are inside. I inherently understand and respect and support who you are externally. So that's why couples usually have it because again, it's like, oh, I get you inside and outside. But why I thought that maybe you guys don't necessarily need that or have that is because in your chart, Erin, you have your sun conjunct your moon. So, and it's conjunct your Mercury too. So basically what this means is our sun is our sense of self and our identity.
Oh yes. Okay.
And so you have your moon on that. So it's like your kind of inner being, your inner self is already very in alignment with your external self.
Oh, okay.
So who you are at rest is who you are out in the world too.
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah, and then with your Mercury on top of all of that, it's like again, the way you think is just you. It's like you are a person who you say you are who you say you are, basically.
Yeah, that feels right. What is that?
No,
The audience like to chime in.
Okay, but also too, you and I, like, at the subject of a lot of our discourse about communication has
I
been
know.
that it's like brain to mouth, like instant.
fast.
Well, that's
That-
the Sagittarius energy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was just about to
Yeah, I
say
can't
that.
help
that-
it. Yeah, see?
It's just
Blurt it out.
It's exactly.
But also too,
No.
like you do kind of do this thing where you like put your foot in your mouth sometimes because like
Oh, all the
you,
time, regularly.
well, and you
regularly.
feel so strongly about like the things that make sense to you and that feel true to you. They just are, and if they don't make sense or feel true to other people, you're like, fuck you, okay? Because like that is the way that it is, and you just like can't help it.
It's
It's
kind
like
of a nightmare sometimes.
no, but like I think it's nice though because I don't feel that way in my
I
own
know you
personal
don't.
life. Like you are just sort
professional
of
life
like
too,
you're
honestly.
just like who you are, you know, and like it just oozes out of you in this way that like is sometimes very adorable, but also sometimes not particularly advantageous. You know, like
not great for communication.
well, and like in the way that I can sort of like read a room and like intuit what somebody is looking for
hey, I can read a
from
room
me.
too now. Okay.
Yes, but like I have a much easier time just being like, whoop, you know, like I'm gonna suck that part of myself right back up because like that's not
Oh,
the
no, we're
audience for
not.
this, and you're just kind of like, you know, like you
I'm like
can't
the
help
Michelin
it.
Man, the Michelin Man.
Yes, yeah, it's just
But,
funny to hear someone talk about it in this way because like you were saying, these things that I do know about you, like
Yeah.
they're all clicking now.
Also, the more emotionally passionate you feel about it, the louder you're going to talk and the more you're going to be like, whoa, just to sound like a firebender, like in your
Yes.
face with the information.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, it's like a part of it too is again, it's Mercury on your sun. So it's like the sun is ego. So it's like, yeah, there is a lot of ego tied to your beliefs and what you think and what you feel. So yeah, you're very invested in it because again, it's not only the ego part of you, it's like the kind of subconscious, emotional inner part of you too. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then, Mickey, in your chart, you have your sun conjunct Jupiter. and conjunct Pluto and conjunct Juno. So again, that's a very strong sun. It's like you have Jupiter on there. Jupiter's expanding those qualities of like, I am this specific person. I am a Scorpio. I am passionate. I am, you know, this kind of extreme person. But at any rate, I was like, oh, okay, this is really interesting. So I think part of why you guys maybe potentially don't have those aspects to sun and moon is because you don't need them. You guys have very defined sense of selves, and you can see, oh, this is who he is. This
That
is who
makes
she
so
is.
much sense. Yeah.
So beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah,
It's like
so
the
I just
sweetest
thought
way
that
I've
was
ever heard
interesting.
someone describe
I know. It's like oddly poetic.
No, for real.
Who just speaks in poetry, so this doesn't surprise me.
I mean, the universe might have been like, all right, these two, like, they already are hyping themselves up
We
a
had
little
no
bit
choice.
too much. We
had
don't
no
need.
choice.
That's entirely too real. I feel like we would be such a menace. Like, just at our combined energy, if we did have that, we would never leave
My
people alone.
like need for, or like passion with
Yes.
your like
Yeah,
righteous.
We would burn things down, and people probably, which is not healthy. Maybe you're right. Maybe that is for the best.
I think it's probably for the best.
You guys also both have all of like these planets conjunct Juno too. So your sun conjunct Juno, and Juno is this asteroid that's related to like partnership. So it's like, again, that might be a part of it, is that you guys are already very kind of like, oh, when I'm here, I'm like cognizant of other people. Like it's not just about me. So that might be helpful too, is that you guys are already, again, naturally like relationship type people.
And is that because we were born so close together, or is Juno one of the big?
I know nothing about
I don't
Juno.
either. That's the first time I've heard.
She's one of my favorites.
Okay, please say more about Juno,
Yeah,
though, because I don't
never
know anything about this at all.
She's an asteroid, and I just love her because I love love. So Juno in our birth chart is really related to, again, all things partnership, but she kind of shows our like traits of our ideal partner, like marriage partner. Or long-term partner.
Yeah.
And so, Venus and Mars can point to attraction and chemistry, but really you need someone with the traits and qualities of your Juno for it to be a long-term relationship. Otherwise, you're going to be like...
There's like friction.
Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So when people are like care about their signs and stuff, so I've never heard Juno come up before. Is that like something people don't normally take into account?
Is that like a more
or-
niche area of
Okay.
study?
Kind of.
That's
It's
so
basically just an
interesting.
asteroid. So once you start like adding in the asteroids, and I'm
There's
by no
asteroids
means...
now?
Yes.
Chiron is an asteroid too.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
that was
There's
like
some
a
more
phrase
popular
or-
asteroids.
Oh,
and then-
okay.
yeah. But I mean, I literally wrote, because I took notes before this, right? Virgo rising. I'm
Thank you.
sure you understand.
I do, absolutely, yes.
It's not in my nature.
No, that was like, that's also why the studio took so long, because like, unless I know exactly what it looks like, and it's gonna look like when we're done, and Mickey was like, well, we'll just start putting stuff up, and I was like,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way.
And I was like, it literally does. It does.
It's the Aries moon.
Yeah.
We're like, actually, I'm inspired right now, so I have to do it right
Yes.
now.
Yes,
and I
or
don't care that
it
it's
will leave.
2 a.m.
Yes.
I need to do this now.
It has to happen right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I literally wrote in my notes, I put that Mickey is a literal expression of Aaron's Juno placements, LOL, and vice versa, both are. Because literally, it's like your Juno on Mercury, on Sun, on the Moon. It's like those are the energies that Mickey really has, because, Mickey has Jupiter conjunct Sun. And, it's just, I just thought it was really interesting.
That is
I was
crazy,
like, all
though.
right, so
That's
here
so
we
cool.
are.
Also, the asteroid thing is blowing my mind right now. Like, I am,
Are you having a spiritual awakening right
I'm
now?
officially blown away. Yeah! Because the shapes and stuff that they make. With
Yeah,
the
those are called
asteroids-
aspects.
The aspects. So are asteroids part of aspects too?
Yes.
Yeah. They can make up.
So the aspects basically just measure the angle at which 2 points on your birth chart relate
Yeah.
to each other.
I know the degree thing.
Yeah, conjunction
obviously.
means they're on top of each other, and then there's different aspects describing which degree they relate to each other.
So there's
So-
like flow, and then there's like challenge or friction, and neither of them are good or bad. It's just like measures the flow. Oh, I always make it sciencey. I'm like, oh, it's like resistance and electricity. Oh my god.
Oh, I love that. That's nice. I feel like when people talk about challenging aspects too, it's usually that like, oh, if this is a challenging aspect, it's going to be terrible, right? Like, this is a tower card moment. And like sometimes it is, sure, but like it doesn't necessarily have to be a disaster all the time, right?
And I feel like because you have so much Scorpio, and because you've like worked as a therapist and a counselor, like not to scare people with like,
That's valid.
like, we don't need
Yeah.
to build this up. Let's just dive in.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
It
And
is
whatever
what it
happens,
is.
happens. And
Yeah.
me telling you it's going to be horrible won't make it easier to navigate.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I feel like that's good advice.
It's just one of the bones I have to pick and a hill I'll die on of like, stop scaring the babies. This is something that Hummer
Yes.
says.
Oh.
It's like
Yeah.
a philosophy of like, do not use your information, your like little nugget of information to be like, I know stuff about you and
Yeah.
you're doomed in this way. It's like such a shitty way to hoard knowledge.
I feel like it's the fire hose thing. They're like when people are like,
Yes, like
all
drinking
at
from a
once.
fire
Yes.
hose. Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think you're right though that like sometimes people do like lord the information over other people, like as if to say like I know everything about like your life or like I've seen your birth chart, so I know everything about you. And like, bitch, no, you do not. Like, calm down.
No.
It's not that serious.
There's
you
like
know?
a million ways for it to express. I think the
Yeah.
way that I do that, the lording thing, is that I'll like laugh or be like, oh my God, about a chart. And then I'm like, no. Let me explain why. 'Cause
Yeah.
You'll agree with me. You'll agree
Yeah,
with me.
yeah. That feels more welcoming, I think. You know.
Yeah. Also, you two both have the same, because born similar, both have the same Mars and Venus, which is just another way of like seeing each other. And I think your charts together are so funny because I fucking love people who have a lot of water and fire
Yeah.
because it's so passionate and also reactive. But like, there's
us
such
reactive? No,
Never.
not us.
there's ways that it's so like responsive, reflective, and I feel like that's really helpful in a partnership to both have it because then it's not like one person is just like flying off
Yeah.
the
We're
wagon or
both
whatever.
flying off.
You're both flying off. But that's a good thing because then it's
Yeah.
like you get to check each other and that gets to be allowed. You get to like allow that energy instead of trying to like hide
Yeah.
it or smush it. And like I feel like there are ways that both of your charts are so potent that like you needed kind of an equal. I mean, you need an equal, but like you needed people to be in relationship that were as powerful, as stubborn,
Here we
as
go. Here we
passionate,
go. Here
as
we go.
funny. I mean, I
Yes.
love your Leo Mars. Both of I mean, look at this.
I
Come on,
know,
this is Leo
yeah.
Mars. But like you needed that like muchness
funny.
because you could like the whole go find less thing. Like
Yes. Okay.
Here we
this-
go. I already
Listen.
know. We've been making eye contact this whole time. I'm like, I'm interested if you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking.
I
There's,
have
like,
to
I have
be.
a couple different trains of thought right
So
now.
yeah, for those of you who don't know, Erin and I are polyamorous, and so we do date other people sometimes. And this is a thing that has been a thorn in my side, especially in dating like cis het men. No, I'm being so serious.
no,
though.
I am.
Like this isn't
I
even
believe
shade. I'm not even like being like, no, man, I tried. Which like, but this has been like a source of contention for me in relationships because I do feel like I'm a lot, right? Like I am just
So many handfuls.
yeah, like I am the way that I am, and like I'm very passionate about that. I feel very strongly about that, and so I, first of all, like get the feedback a lot that I'm like an intimidating person, which like personally I
hate
don't
that.
get. I don't see that.
I don't see it either. If that makes you feel any
Thank
better.
you. Well, yes, I think that's also why I like feel so at home in relationship with you because like even when I am being like reactive and a lot, you're just kind of like, are you done? Like, you know, and it's like a fortitude or like self-assuredness that is hard to find in relationships when you are like the way that I
Well,
am,
and I
you
think
know?
too, to be fair, I think that's a lot of energy to be bringing to like initial
I
first.
don't disagree, but I'm just saying, like, I don't feel like I would find a successful relationship with someone who had to try really hard to, like,
keep up.
yeah, well, and to, like, push back on, like, just the way that I am.
Which is
you
funny
know?
too, because I think I get under your skin most.
Yes.
Speaking of that,
100%
when I'm like,
you do.
I don't really care. Like, I know
Yes.
you're upset right now, but like, I'm really not like bought into this. And you're like,
Or
no,
you're like,
bitch, you're gonna
you're
be
not
mad with me too. And it's like, well, I don't really want to be.
Or I'm like really upset and you're like, you're not scary, you know? And I'm just like, why? I want to be. Like, you should be afraid,
It's
you
giving
know?
Sully from or no,
Yes.
or when they go to scare the kids.
Yeah,
and
Monsters
they're
Inc.
not
And the kids
scared.
are just kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, no, like it is kind of
Yes.
that energy, I think. But it's also like strength in our relationship.
I think so too. Yeah.
You know?
I think it's funny too because I think you definitely like take more of the like the reactive side of it. I think.
Yeah, 100%.
But
I
then,
have an
like-
Aries
Glad you
moon. Leave
own
me
it.
alone.
I can never tell if you embracing it more has helped or hurt.
I think it's helped.
I can't. Yeah.
Have you seen that like Leslie Ben Wyatt thing where he's like, it feels like arguing with the sun
Oh,
when I
yeah.
argue with him? Like that is an Aries moon. So my partner will do that.
Oh my
where
God,
I'm like,
that's so real.
we're all just like, maybe maybe I'm channeling the ancestors, but I'll just get on a I hate patriarchy kick and I will like flame. And then he's like, I don't know what you want me to do with this energy. I agree with you. We are not in conflict.
No, just like, but I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah,
it is kind of that, just like a little
just
fireball.
Leftover.
Ooh, little tidbit for you. I've embraced psychically burning things down because then it lets me reset and it doesn't hurt anyone. Because I've tried to like hold that dragon back. It's exhausting. I'm like, let's just burn everything down on the psychic plane and then we can start again.
Noted.
Can you talk more about that, or like what do you mean like psychically?
I mean, like in my imagination, I'll be like, to make me mad, and then I'll just like pretend I'm a dragon and burn the whole house down in my mind. And I'm not hurting him. I checked. I'm not hurting him. I'm just
There's no spillage.
I'm just like, fuck this moment. Let's like set this on fire. We're done. Let's hit reset. Because like,
I know. I wish I had the little button that all the routers and stuff have sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like also too that I'm a therapy lady, and so I make everything about therapy.
Of course.
But like for real though, I feel like that's part of why I love astrology so much, because like that's real ass advice that I can give to clients, you know? And like because people are sort of judgy about like astrology and like new age stuff, right? But I do feel like there's such an interesting intersection there, because like it is a tool, right? Like it doesn't have to be the tool like you were saying, but it can be a tool in terms of like
the toolbox
now like you were saying, like I know this thing about myself, right? And so like there are things that I can do that don't have to be like a breathing exercise or like a grounding technique. You know what I'm saying? Because like that's great. No, they do work for some people, but like there is no amount of breathing that will make, like, if anything, like adding oxygen to the fire that I'm experiencing is probably counterintuitive, you know?
And a lot of famous astrologers also have psych degrees or also have counseling degrees.
What?
Yeah,
like a ton of them have
me.
MAs, and like, of course they do. Of course they do. Because like there are ways that there's, at least in modern astrology, has some roots in like psychotherapy, Jungian shadow stuff, you know? I don't know. But.
I love that.
Well, I think it's the thing too we talk about too, where like religion is cool and all and is great.
Yeah.
But like then when you let it become your entire personality.
Yes.
Like I would imagine it's the same thing with like like people who are very like, oh, it must be this way.
Yeah.
Or like
it has
very
to
committed
be.
to like.
It's the dogmatic part.
Yes, exactly. But
Or like
if
I'm
you
not
take-
going outside because I'm scared of this. It's like, okay,
Yes.
that's something different, but
Yes.
we can look at that.
but you, like take all these little pieces and like put them together and make like a full-fleshed human being. Like that's like a really cool thing, I think.
Yeah, there was actually a comment that somebody left when we talked about astrology for the first time on the podcast.
We talked about it on the podcast?
Oh no, I talked about it on the other podcast with Hannah.
Oh.
Sorry.
The other pod.
Weird flex.
Somebody shut up. Somebody left me a comment saying like, wow, I'm so surprised that you're interested in astrology.
Yes.
I'm like a little bit disappointed because
Ew.
like you're such an evidence-based person. And I was like,
There are
Imagine-
millennia of evidence.
but also like imagine that I'm like a whole ass fleshed out complex human being who like, yes, I do very much value evidence and like, you know, facts and numbers and whatever when it's like pertinent, but also like, could you fucking let me live? Like I want to go outside and cry at the moon every once in a while, okay? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. And like both of those things can be part of this whole personhood that don't have to be just like only astrology or only therapy or only, you know, like
It's a very
that's
black
like
or
the whole
whiteness, I
fucking
feel like,
point of being a person, you know?
This is
Like-
why I like AI can't be like a therapist because there isn't
Yes.
that emotional understanding.
Yes.
Because feelings are like you teach people
Yes.
to work with feelings. Yes, like
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah, you can't like falsify that, or like there's no amount of like intelligence in an algorithm that can accurately predict or like really engage with people on that level.
And I think the expectation of like removed, distant, scientific, only evidence-based is so
Trash.
it's so like white supremacy, patriarchy. Like you cannot strip away your humanity to objectively look at anything. You have bias, my friend.
Yes.
Sorry to dogpile on that
No,
person.
no,
but
no.
I feel that way.
Yeah. Well, and also too, I feel like this is a thing that the therapy community is sort of gradually moving away from, because in school they tell you this thing about how like you're supposed to be a blank slate, right? Like, isn't that the worst fucking phrasing?
Which is crazy. Like they're so
Why?
committed to like
That's
they're
dehumanizing.
Yes.
They literally use that
Yes.
phrase. Like you should be a blank slate for your clients, because if you bring your personhood into the room, then like you're crowding them. You're not making space for them. You're
you
like,
mean the parts of your identity that they're going to
Literally.
connect and relate to and open up with?
Yes.
Okay.
And so like that has always been kind of at the center of like why I practice therapy in the way that I do and why like we ended up here, you know, because there's a lot of therapy advice. It's just very like clinical and yucky and like devoid of humanity. And so in just being myself with clients, it means that I don't vibe with some people, but also like that's good. Like there are other therapists then who will vibe with you better. Yeah. The whole like
deter the people.
Yeah. It's just as important to deflect the
yes.
people that aren't your people as it is to attract the people who are, you know, which is like good business advice generally, I think, but like very poignant when you talk about therapy. Cause like, I don't want to go to therapy to talk to a statue. Like I want somebody who understands my toxicity because they're also a little bit
literally
toxic.
That's how community is built.
You know?
Like,
That part.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, that was a tangent.
No, I feel like in therapy, I can't even start to talk about my stuff if I don't ask the person about their day. And I want to hear like 5 minutes about you minimum, please. I need to check in.
Yes.
All right. Now that you've shared, I can share.
My clients do that to me all the time.
like trading.
Yeah. I would ask one,
Yeah.
like, how's your Monday going? She's like, I hate Mondays. I'm like, yeah, I relate. I relate.
Yeah. I try to give like a tidbit or two that's like real ass life. You know, like, yeah, I'm really tired. Or like, you know, I ate a snack and now my belly hurts, you know? And then like we'll move on. But I feel like it is nice to kind of settle.
Even ground.
Yeah.
Speaking of even ground, Pooja, can you tell me more about Mickey, please?
Let's go.
Yeah. Let's expose my secrets.
Yes. I want to know how you work.
As if you don't already.
Well, Mickey, I mean, I just love that you have such a beautiful Scorpio stellium that just like is splayed across the 7th and 8th, which is all
Feels like
about
real life.
relating to other people. Yeah, it's just Mickey is very involved and invested in like connection and understanding and kind of intertwining with others. But at the same time, that Scorpio is like, but we have boundaries and I'm going to help you transmute this thing. Like the fact that you're a therapist, it's like, well, duh. Like,
You never had it.
I don't know what else you were going to do.
We talk about that all the time. You literally did not have a choice.
Yeah. I don't think I had any
You had
chance.
like every extenuating factor.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything all points to that direction.
Yes, exactly. What I thought was kind of interesting, this is more, I guess, from like a collaborative point for you two working together for the podcast, is that so Erin, you have your Mars in Leo in the 12th house, whereas Mickey, your Mars is in Leo in the 5th house. So I like it because you guys are both creative beings, but you're really like kind of expressing, exploring, and channeling these energies in such a different way. Like yours is like pure creation, inspiration. There might be a lot of like kind of ego involved, pride involved, if you will. Like it has to be this way. It has to be my way. And then Erin, yours might be a little bit more, I don't know, maybe it's like spiritual in a way. Maybe it's you actually kind of like wrestle with things or struggle with things. And this could be coupled with your Virgo rising, your Chiron in Virgo. You might be like, I don't know if I can actually do this thing.
Oh, definitely. We like literally just had a conversation about that. We just had a conversation before. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're like so creative, but you're like, am I though? And then Mickey's like, I am creative. I am great.
Yeah. I feel like you're much more private about it.
Oh, definitely.
Like it takes a lot of coaxing for me to be like, can you show me? Can you tell me? Like, what is it? Can you show me? I want to know what
Not
it is.
until
Can I
it's
hear
done
it?
and it's perfect
No,
and it will be
yeah.
transcendental and
Meanwhile, I will draw like some like shitty little doodle of a moon and I'm like, look at it. I'm an artist.
put it on the wall.
Aren't you proud of me? Tell me I'm
Literally
good.
the wall of shitty artwork.
No, literally.
That's so
yeah.
accurate. Also, this is so funny to me why sometimes when like people like bash on astrology or like just like it's just giving meaning to things that
Yes.
like and like sometimes it's like with tarot. Like sometimes the cards are like really loud.
Yes.
And sometimes you're like, are you even talking right now? Like yes.
Draw again.
Yeah, no, yeah, like I just sound didn't count. That one
Yeah,
didn't
we're
count.
playing Go Fish.
No.
Get out of here.
But no, that is like so spot on.
Yeah.
Also,
I love
12th
that.
12th house isn't involving the degrees where like the higher the degree, the more finished you are with that placement. You know what I'm talking about? Or 12th house is just where it lined up on the like the
So
map.
your birth chart is divided into 12 sections.
Yeah, and each section has
It's like
the
little
degrees.
pie sections.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so each house is like its own thing. There's like themes associated with each house. So, and the 12th house is like the last one.
Of course,
Because
yeah.
there's only 12.
12, yes.
Yeah.
I do understand that part.
Well, listen, I'm just explaining.
No.
But it's
I'm
not a
kidding.
measure of like completeness that it's in 12 and
okay.
not 1. It doesn't really work that way. The degree matters for like
I think that's what I'm
I think of
yeah.
it in terms of like freshness. Like 0 degrees, like, okay, we're naive, we're new here. This
Yes,
is so
okay, that's
fun.
exactly- yes, okay.
29
Yeah.
is like, I've done my time.
I've been around this block.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish this shit
Get
up.
me off this ride.
That's really
I
funny.
like the 12th house Mars and that you're paired with Mickey because, like, your boldness then gets to invite you to take up space. And I think
Yeah.
what's really
Yeah.
nice about, like, Leo energy at its best is that
At its
one
best.
person taking up space is not to make someone else smaller. It's an invitation to join me
Yes.
in
Yeah.
this, like, muchness.
Yeah. Like magnifying.
Yeah.
That sounds totally spot on, honestly.
Yeah, I love that. Ugh, that's sweet. Tell us more sweet things.
I like when it's nice to us.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about some of our. Is there like shitty stuff in there? Is this
Oh,
like,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
wow,
yeah,
you guys are toxic in this?
Tell
Oh,
us.
please tell us
That's the
that.
stuff we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Hit us with it.
Well, so I'm not going to do that quite yet. But what I did like, again, just things that kind of stood out to me is that Mickey, your midheaven is in Capricorn. So for you and your 6th house is in work. So when it comes to work, you are very earthy. You're like, okay, I want to get it done.
Yeah.
I want to work hard. I want to be the best. I want to achieve. I want to succeed. I want to do and go and go and go and go. But Erin, yours is very different. Your 6th house is in Aquarius and your midheaven is in Gemini. So for you, you're like, I am just trying to like do kind of the least.
Really?
Yeah, I want to have fun. I want to be playful. I want to be
Yes.
silly.
Fuck.
I want to
Damn
work
it.
with
I
people.
thought, I was like, that
wanna...
doesn't resonate. And then I was like, oh, yeah, it totally does.
Aquarius energy is work smarter, not harder. Whereas Capricorn is like, I will freaking slave away.
Yes.
I will
Sweet
put my
buttheads.
blood, sweat, and tears
Yes.
into it.
Oh my
I will
goodness.
work 12-hour shifts. Aquarius
Die
is
on every
like,
hill.
I'll do maybe like 4 hours,
Yeah.
4 to 6.
Because
Like, I think
also
that's
too,
enough.
like if you present me with a smarter solution for something, but I've already committed to doing
Oh,
it
we're
in
not
the way
changing.
that I have deemed is like the most honorable way to like trudge through the mud, I'm going to fucking do it this way, and then I'm going to also be like judging you for like working smarter,
double
not
down.
harder. Yeah, and so we do have conflict about that a lot. Where you're like, why wouldn't we just do it this way? And I'm like, because
I have decided.
yeah, because we're already halfway through.
That
Like,
also
'cause I wanna
feels
do
like
it
your
this way.
rising sign approaches because like Virgo rising
Yeah.
versus Aries, like this is I don't know this energy well with my partner because Aries is like I already started, the ball is already rolling, I can't change it now. It's highly
Yes.
No,
illogical.
there's no room for flexibility.
But I think the challenge for like that energy coming into clash with Virgo is that the interruptions with love, the interruptions that Virgo is like this tweak, this problem, it like can
Yes.
fuck with the fire. And again, in reverse, it's the same is true where you're like, this step, we have to start with this, and Mickey starts with step 12, and you're like, oh fuck.
No, literally, I'm like, I haven't even put clothes on yet. What are you talking about?
They're like, I got the command strips out, it's on the wall,
Yes.
it's happening.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, that's really funny.
That's really funny because some days you just wake up and you're like, we're doing this.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I don't even know what.
Yes,
What are
we
you
like
talking
remodeled
about?
our whole house in the span of like 2 weeks because I was just like, we're doing it. I'm painting everything. I bought all the stuff. Here we go.
Along for the ride.
Yeah.
What's beautiful about this though is that with like the midpoint chart, the composite chart, when you combine those energies, you take the Virgo, you take the Aries, when you can put them together for your your composite chart, you get Gemini rising. And so the key to being able to work with both of your energies, even though they are different, is that curiosity. It's always going to root back to curiosity and
Yeah.
just being like you, Erin, being like, huh, look at how Mickey's doing that. That's kind of funny. Like taking joy in it, and you being like, oh, it's so cute when you're uptight about this thing.
It is
like
exactly that.
taking that playful approach
Oh, that's
and
so
not taking
funny.
it personally, because it's like
Yeah.
I forgot where I heard this, probably on TikTok, but it was talking about how
Same.
like we work through problems together through like assigning the other person the other point of view so that we can like kind of get more firm in our position, but also fleshed out so
Oh
we don't
my
have to
God.
hold two
Yeah.
different truths at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like there's something to that, right?
Yes. There's mushroom shelves that are literally sitting over there, not hung up.
hung up yet.
Because Mickey, we had
I
a
had
fight
strong
about
opinions,
it. And I
yeah.
was like, okay, well, I don't really know. Because I was like, oh, I'll put them in a way that makes sense. And she's like, well, they're mushrooms. They should look like mushrooms.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't exactly know how mushrooms grow of this kind. And also, they're key holders, so I don't know. And she's like, that's fine. We're done. We're not doing this. And I was like,
Because you did the very like Virgo rising thing of like I'm going to space them perfectly evenly
They look
in
good.
a little triangle, and I was like, that's not how fucking mushrooms grow. Why would
like,
I
I
want to
forgot
fucking
their
look at them
shells.
like that? It's weird. Like they're supposed to look like mushrooms.
Mickey goes, I'll just hang them myself.
But I feel like that is
Yes,
such a, like,
no.
that's actually very helpful advice
It
in
is.
like,
It is.
just sort of observing with a curiosity about like why you are the way
Well, I
that
think
you
we
are.
both do that with each other, and we're like, "Why are you doing like that? You look like an idiot." Like,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't do it that way. So clearly, you're wrong.
Yeah, but I feel like removing that judgment might actually be helpful, though. You know
Oh,
what I'm saying? To
definitely.
just
No,
like observe that,
exactly.
like, yes, this is the way that you're doing this, and like, I think it's dumb, but also like, look at you doing your thing. Like, it is
Task
working.
initiation, you're
you know?
doing it.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
there's value in it, and being like,
Yes.
oh, okay, so I won't slam my head against a wall a bunch of times to move the obstacle.
Yes.
But sometimes things can only be solved that way. It's not much. I'll give us credit that way. It's
Yeah.
not a ton of things
Yeah,
can be solved
that's-
that way.
thank you. Yeah.
But there's also a need to like leap, and there's a way that like Mickey's impulsiveness does push you, and you're scrappier than you think, and it shows you that you can do it on the fly.
I
Yeah.
think I've literally said to you, just because I'm not doing it the way you would have done it, doesn't make it wrong. I think I've definitely.
And I'm like,
I think it was something with this
it does.
office. I think
Probably.
there's definitely something in here, and I was like,
Yeah.
I can do it this way, and it is fine. And I need you to mind your business for a minute.
Yeah, actually, I feel like that was happening a lot with like situating the
Oh, yeah.
stuff, you know?
You should have seen us putting the chairs together before you guys got here. I'm glad we came an hour and a half before you guys got
Yes.
here. Let's just say that.
We tried like 6 different layouts and then we finally settled out. He literally was just like, what if we just do this? And then I was like,
Damn it, I like it.
yeah, all right. It was like very much the thing of like, well, we have to try each and every layout
Oh.
that I've conceived of. So let's start from the top. These are the things that I think won't work. Let's start there and then we'll just try all of them. And
I
you were
don't
like,
want to get into that.
no. And then it just worked.
Online shopping is is a nightmare sometimes with you. 'Cause you're like, I have to check every single option and every single
Yes!
brand from every single person.
Yes.
Like,
How else
will
will
have
I know what
compiled
the
it.
options are potentially? That's so important. Please put
I
in the
don't
comments if you
disagree.
also do that because I feel like there's value in that.
I don't disagree.
Because also, have I ever bought anything? Have I ever like settled on anything and then been like, I should have looked for something else, or like found something and then like 2 weeks later been like, oh look, there's this better option.
Now I want to say
No.
if I thought about it really hard, I probably could find something. But I'm gonna give you this one.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just
buy
feel
really
like
good
I
stuff.
am like witnessing your guys' charts like come to life.
I was wondering if that
And
was
it's
what was going
so
on.
fascinating.
Yeah.
I have so much to say about all of it.
Say.
So basically, in terms of the money piece and buying things, Mickey, you have your Venus in Scorpio, so does Aaron, but yours is retrograde. Also, with all of your Scorpio energy, you're like, I need to research. I need to find the best deal. I need to
Yes.
make sure that like I
Very
am sure on this
obsessive.
thing before I pull the trigger.
That someone's not
so you're
trying to
just
fuck me over with this
Yes,
product.
Yes.
exactly. I don't have to
Yes.
return this. I want this to be done and done.
One
so
time, yes. That's-
exactly. So you're just more cautious when it comes to money.
Yeah.
You also like to do your research, but you're a little more flexible because you have all that Sag energy that is like, I kind of just want to be done. And Sag is honestly not super good at like organizing. Like your Virgo is like, I'm trying to organize, I'm doing my best, but the Sag is like, I'm kind of fumbling at
I'm
this.
bored.
Yeah, I'm bored.
bored.
I want to be done.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because sometimes I'm like, I need everything to be exactly this way, and sometimes I'm like, who cares?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah. And I feel like that's like very like ADHD energy, right? It's
Yes.
like sometimes you're like, I'm on it, like I am just ruling
Everything
the
is
day, ruling
color-coded
the world.
and
Yes,
doing
yes,
decimals.
perfect. And then eventually your mutable energy
Yes.
kicks in. You're just like, fuck it, like let me
Yeah.
just live my life, like I'm done.
Also, I'm dying at the way that we seated ourselves, sort of like in alignment with each other's charts.
Oh, that's like so funny.
Oh, wait, really? Oh, yeah. No,
Oh,
we
that's
did. Oh, my God.
hilarious. I love that.
Mutables over here.
You can't say it's not real.
I know. I was literally about to say that. Oh, that's so funny. I feel like also too, just as an aside, you end up in these positions where like when you do this, you'll try to situate details, right? For like, I don't know, a particular thing. And then you kind of do the thing where you get bored and you're like, fuck it, I'm sending it,
No,
right?
like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out along
It's
the
like this
way.
very Sagittarian thing where you just get so fucking lucky. Like you just, it's like,
I know, it
like
makes you so
everything
mad.
just
It makes
fucking
you
works
so
out
mad.
for you. It's crazy. Honestly, like it's just wild to me because it is kind of that
Imagine
thing where
that
like,
going with the flow.
yeah, and like it just like it's like you don't even
Dumb
have
luck.
to try sometimes. Yeah, and it just
Yeah.
like works out so perfectly for you. But then like when I do that, I'm like, oh, it's a giant disaster. Like it just is like blows up in my face immediately. I'm like, see, this is why I don't do that. And you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like that's never happened to me.
Not my experience.
Yeah, which I love for you. Honestly, it
I
is kind
love-
of nice to be partnered.
I love that you get to
for
be
that.
a part of that.
Yeah, yeah, you get to
gifted
reap
that
your
to you.
benefits.
Yeah.
You should buy all my lottery tickets from now on.
We've
or
never won
something.
anything from the lottery. Not that lucky.
I won $5 from a scratcher. Thank you very much.
after buying like 15.
Yeah.
Right now I'm looking at your planets, Aaron, on top of Mickey's chart.
Okay.
And so basically these are the things that you bring out in her. So Mickey a lot of Aaron's Sag energy falls into your 8th house, which again, that's totally fine for you. Like you are Scorpio queen, like you are 8th house, like aware, and adept. But basically, Aaron, that means that you have seen kind of Mickey's everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. You have been there through the highs, the lows. It's like you really know like her shadows, her trauma, like you know and see everything. And then this is also really great for just like chemistry. This is like the passionate, lustful, intense, like out of this world, primal, carnal, animalistic. Sorry to like
No,
you guys
go
see
ahead.
these, but it's true. Sorry, Scorpio, I'm exposing you at the moment. But it's true. It's like that's 8th house energy. But also this is just really great for shared goals. And, Mickey, you have Jupiter and Pluto and Juno there. So it's kind of like different energies. I would even say like your sun is probably living in there too. But, Aaron is adding lunar energy. He's adding mercurial energy. So he's helping you to be able to speak to those things. Like maybe he's over the years helped you develop that ability to like really.
That's
really
so
fun.
sweet.
I love that.
Yeah, I feel like that's true.
That feels accurate too.
Yeah, I know it's like sort of a joke sometimes, like use your words, but like it really is kind of that way sometimes. I think especially because for me, like when I feel something, I feel it very strongly and I feel it like immediately. This has actually been a subject of our contention.
It happens very
in
fast.
therapy. Yeah, because I will
Like a monsoon.
well, I think I've asked you before, like, are you not just like fucking overwhelmed by your emotions? Like when you feel things, are you not just like being pulled underwater? And you were like, no, like literally, no, I am not. And I was like, I don't relate to that at all.
Your 12th house
The
moon is
Sag
like,
moon is like,
Yeah.
Good times only. Good times only.
Yeah, and so I feel like it has been kind of like a cool like lesson, sort of like to absorb that through osmosis from
Yeah,
you.
but I feel like now I care about things more quickly than I used to.
Yeah,
Or,
which
like, I
is
get,
good.
Like fired up quicker.
Yeah, I think that's valuable that we're like doing that for each other.
there's
We
that
are.
meeting in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
And then, you literally just spoke to it, Mickey, but like with his moon there, that's the same thing, like that ability to like kind of help you to understand and nurture your own feelings, your own emotions, and then vice versa. You can kind of bring that to him. And then I like that you guys have a Venus conjunction because, again, even though you both have Venus in Scorpio, Aaron's is not retrograde and yours is. So Venus representing, right, money, values, it's like you guys are able to, especially you, Mickey, like you're offering insight into different ways of thinking about money and love. So yours might be a little bit more conventional of like the stereotypical Venus in Cancer, or I'm sorry, Venus in Scorpio, if you will. And then Mickey's like, but have you thought about it this way? And you're just like, oh, no.
We have our entire like the first
Yes.
the first like 5-6 years of being married.
So-
like this conversation just like every day.
Have you guys ever seen that movie Hello Dolly? It's a really old movie. Well, it's not really
You're
old.
dating yourself again.
Whatever. I grew up with classic cinema, sue me. But it's a movie with Barbara Streisand, and at the beginning she talks about how she used to be married to this rich guy who's like dead. But she talks about how her and her husband had this very different attitude about money, and that he wanted to like hoard it in the bank and like just sort of hoard it in these piles and like look at it. And she like waxes poetic for a really long time about how she thinks that like money should flow freely through the economy and like down through little shops and like, like the local community and whatever. And I remember being like 6 and watching that and being like, oh my God, like, yes, like this is exactly the way that I feel about it. And we talk about that all the time, that
talk
like,
about that all the
if we
time.
have money, gone. Like if we get
We
paid,
just talked in the
spending
last
it.
episode.
Yeah, because I just like feel very strongly that like when I die, like what am I going to do? Take it with me, put it in a big pile and be like, look at me. Well, yes, and that's the problem is that like there is value in saving money and like planning for things and like conserving it for like safety's sake
Yes.
and responsibility's sake,
But then adding that with Scorpio, we were like, oh, we're doing this now. We are
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And also I'm going to be like really obsessive and like particular about the details of like the way that we're doing it.
And then I'm like,
but it is
what
like,
if maybe we we didn't do it like that.
But I think it's an interesting balancing though, because
It
like
is.
we literally talked about this on the last episode of the podcast that like in college, I would routinely transfer my last dime out of my savings account to just buy stuff, like just because I want it. I want it right now. And
Because
so
the Aries moon, it's not a want, it's a need.
yes.
Everything is a need
Yeah.
somehow.
Everything's a need.
It's incredible. Everything you need.
And so it has been kind of like a growing up, I think, and like you
Yes.
helping me be less, you know, like
I think
like
that
baby, you
part-
need to eat, you know,
Yes.
like you need money for food and to retire someday.
Meanwhile, I
maybe.
think otherwise, if we had not, I'd be like, I'll just live in my. We have a friend like that who like just like
Yeah.
bare minimum, bare everything. Like,
Yes. When we first got married, he was like really disgusted by the idea of buying generic brand or buying name brand grocery items at the grocery store. You know, because like
This is a long time ago. Can
no,
you
no, no,
imagine
it's
doing
just
that
like
now?
10 years ago. But like I remember like the early grocery trips that we would take. You'd be like, why would we buy the name brand when we could just buy the generic
And I'm
brand
like-
if it's like 50 cents cheaper? And I'm
And
like,
I'm
because
like,
it's better.
Give me Tillamook every time.
Yes.
I will
You could-
spend
yeah.
on the cheese.
You could fight me. Tillamook cheese is so good.
The first thing that jumped out to me is that the Gemini rising. So again, this is taking each point in your birth chart and then doing the average and plotting a point there, and that's where
Okay.
the planet goes. So most of these stick around in the same sign. Your rising sign for the relationship is the Gemini rising. So I love this because that curiosity is present to the approach in your relationship. There's so much talking. It really encourages communication and just like playfulness, gremlin behavior, silliness.
Oh my
Like
God.
there's a way.
Your zoomies before bed come to mind.
Listen, that's a universal experience.
I know. I don't think I'd get away from it. I wouldn't change it either, to be clear.
Yeah.
I think we literally were spraying each other with a water bottle the other night.
Yes, it is the way of things.
That is so cute. Which makes like the ruling planet of your chart Mercury, and that's in the 5th house in Scorpio. So there's a way that like what I find incredible about your dynamic is that you can do the playful thing and then you can go from like 0 to 100 and then you're like talking about trauma. Then you're like unpacking.
They're
I
the
mean,
same
obviously
thing. They're the
unpacking.
same
Yes,
thing.
Yeah.
that's too real.
fun.
But you can flip between the two and
Yeah.
like I feel like this like getting readings and stuff like this is nice because you can have like lights shown on the parts where you're like, no, everyone has that. And I'm like, absolutely not. This is unique.
Yes.
Like, let's celebrate this.
Yeah.
And the ability to like enjoy and like find richness and satisfaction, like going into like the nooks and crannies of each other's brains and souls and stuff. Like, there's so much fun there. And you two teach each other a lot about like expressing yourself. I think the way it shows up for you, which Pooja touched upon, is communicating emotions, taking up space, saying what you mean. And for Erin, it's a lot about like expressing creativity and like putting that foot forward, finding
damn.
value. Yeah. And like
you
just
having
for
a
the
moment?
sake of it.
Well, no, it just sounds that's fucking like our whole. Cause we talk about this too a lot because we have been together for a really long time.
Yes.
But like so we've like come in and out of things and like interests and likes and dislikes.
And like identity development stuff.
But I
yeah.
think like very much like you've helped me be like a much more like way to process emotions and stuff and to express myself. And then like with you you're my little iPad baby. You love drawing and you are like so good at creating like all of like you're so
like
good
such a
with
sick
it.
burn and also really
It's
sweet
so-
at the same time.
But you're so good. Like you do such a wonderful like all the
No, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I think also too, because I was literally thinking about this while you were
I
talking.
love Mercury and Sagittarius so much.
But also too, I feel like this energy is why we have a very small core group of friends, especially couple friends, because we do this where like
much.
we are like joking. We like read each other to filth, and then we're like talking
Kinda
about
mean a little bit
trauma.
sometimes.
Yeah, and then we're like talking about like, oh, remember that one time, like this very traumatic thing. Ha 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 ha. Anyways, and people are just like,
aren't childhoods
what the
crazy?
fuck? Yeah. I feel like this is all making sense. Why like the people that we resonate with are like people that we resonate with, and people that we don't are just like
it
like
self-selects.
yes,
Because you can't
yeah.
use personality A with personality B friends. So awkward when it happens.
Yes. Yeah, we've been in those interactions before, and it's like,
And it only makes it funnier when they're like, what? And then
yeah,
you're like, oh, I'm going to laugh in your face.
yes,
Here it comes.
yeah.
You can't take us anywhere.
No, you really can't.
The way that this is coming in is funny. The verbiage is going to be weird, but like this is a fortuitous relationship for you two. Hang with me. I mean this in all of the ways. So you're both of you have that Leo Mars, but it shows up in the second house for your midpoint chart, composite chart. And the second house is all about like values and gifts and like ability to like have stuff and like mass wealth and all of that stuff. And for both of you, the like a lot of where you put your energy is like playfully bringing out each other's gifts and like making money that way. Like you are very young to be like have built all this, and I know this is just in the beginning, but fucking still like young to have all of this and to be in it together and like enjoying the process of bringing out each other's gifts, making money together, building your empire.
I'm like actually gonna cry. That's so cute.
It's very sweet. And like, okay, here's another asteroid. This is Ceres. You both have this in Leo. Ceres is the scythe. So she's all about nurturing, and where she shows up in your chart is kind of like how you were nurtured, therefore how you nurture others. How you like feed yourself and nourish. And so for both of you, that's in Leo, and it's right next to that Mars in the second house. So there's also a way that like being playful, being expressive, declaring who you are with your full chest, like nourishes both of you and like helps heal your inner children, you know?
Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a witnessing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I don't even know what you're gonna say.
No, you.
No, you got. Are you talking about the inner child stuff? Oh yeah, we're talking about that all the time. Though I feel like we're like constantly just like redoing that.
Yes.
Like over and over and over. Like I feel like, because especially growing up and like we're very much like type A's.
Yes.
Like
the gold star, high
yes.
achieving children.
And like
yeah.
unlearning that and letting that go and kind of like shedding that layer has been like very freeing.
Yeah. And like very healing.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
But no, I was just thinking about like our parents in our childhoods, because I think we both kind of had the experience of like being suppressed. Like we've talked about this before, that like especially being like the like embodying the fire sign energy in our charts is something that we were very discouraged for doing as children. And so like that kind of made us into these like gold star high achieving children who were like, you know, very much the like children are seen and not heard thing. And like and like coming into ourselves as adults has looked a lot like, I don't know, like I want to do fuck off shit, right? I want to do stupid shit. Like this is a fucking dumb decision and I'm going to do it, you know? And like just cause it's fun. And I feel like we have kind of given each other space to do that and to like practice being more at peace with that and like honoring that, like, yes, like maybe this is kind of dumb or like short-sighted or like, yes, you are being petty right now, but also like you're allowed, like feel petty, you know, like you can feel how you feel about it and like we can process that together. And then you don't have to like take that out on anybody, you know, like kind of how you were talking about earlier, like channeling that into like a psychic realm a little bit of like, we sort of hold that space for each other sometimes.
Well, we did like a lot of spiritual and like physical upheaval.
Yes.
And like a lot really
very
quickly.
short amount of time.
And so it just sounds like exactly like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love the idea of you two like reparenting your inner children in the way that you talked about it, because it's very like fire sign energy, like especially the Aries Sag combo of like, let's get into shenanigans, let's do dumb shit, let's just be reckless, let's just be impulsive. Like,
Yeah.
that's
let's live.
perfect. Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also too, just like unlearning like the concept of professionalism, you know, because like
what you're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
how you're supposed to be.
yeah, like who gives a fuck what a studio is supposed to look like? Like this is what I want it to look like, you know?
Most people would choose not this, but not
Yeah, no, exactly. But like you and I both have kind of come into that a little bit, that like being a professional is not a real thing. And it's like also kind of a weird white supremacist colonial standard anyways, you know?
Definitely.
So like I just want to be who I am, you know?
And that
And
is
also-
fire.
And it'll probably change. And it'll probably change.
Yes.
And that's cool.
Leaving
Yeah.
room for that.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
You know? We'll just pivot again. It'll be fine.
I think what's
Just do it later.
I think what's cool about fire energy, as opposed to like, I don't know, I'm contrasting it with earth right now, but as opposed to earth energy is like there needs to be a product, there needs to be an output, and it has to have a purpose. And like, we need that energy. It truly keeps the world held together by tape. But fire energy is like, I'm looking for identity stuff and I want to be and I want to try things, and there doesn't have to be a purpose. The purpose is experience. The purpose is just being, which is so healing to the like type A performer high achiever, because
Yes.
it's like, no, it's not what you can do. It's who you are. And like keep pointing that back to yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like those are words to live by. We talk about that a lot, you know? Like I don't want our life to be about what we're doing. I want it to be about who we are.
Love.
Wow. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like this
Everyone's
is
a
like
poet.
therapy and astrology intersecting, and it makes me so happy.
It's so good.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to make sure we cover is that your combo moon, which I think this is really cool, is in Aquarius. So recap for those who are not following: Aries moon, Sag moon. But the combo for your composite chart is Aquarius in the 8th house. And so what I think is really beautiful, and I kept seeing it when you were talking about all of the Scorpio energy that you both have, is that it lets your emotional state be very vulnerable and like to meet each other there. And so there's a lot of depth. And I think this is something that is a non-negotiable for both of you with all of the Scorpio. Like, you have to be able to meet each other in the depths and the shadows and the murkiness. And luckily for you two, you met when you were younger. So you get, like, you couldn't hide that if you wanted to. It's too late. It's already been seen.
We talk about that all the time.
Emo
I would love to
little
have met as like adults and see how we...
Yes, if we would have liked each other as much.
Yeah, I feel like we've been just constantly under each other's skin.
Yeah. I feel like it works because like we have that familiarity.
And that understanding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something we were talking about before we got on the podcast was how, you know, there are relationships that adults meet when they're adults and grow from there, but then you get really stuck in patterns and habits and roles, and it gets harder to adapt and to change. Where Mickey talking about you two getting together when you were young is that you've seen each other through lots of cycles, and so there's an expectation that you're going to keep doing that. And
we talk about that all the time, like, especially I think just like even year by year basis.
Yes.
Like if someone went back a year ago and they're like, this isn't even the same fucking person. Who is this?
Yes. Like what are you talking
about? What are you
about?
doing? Like, stay, just be still.
keep up.
Like,
but like
I
also,
will not.
no, yes, exactly. And I think just kind of embracing that as opposed to like being like, trying
to like squish it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's been like really empowering.
Yeah. Yeah. Really freeing.
Yeah, that's so Aquarius moon. Like, I don't need it to look like you. I don't need it to look like anybody. We're going to make up the rules together. Ooh, emotional liberation as your two's legacy. Holy shit.
Oh, that's so cute.
Is that what it says?
That feels really apt.
That's incredible.
And just that it like gets to be weird. You get to make up the rules. And I think what's cool about that composite moon is that you get to do a lot of deconstruction and like, I mean, it keeps coming. We're gonna mention the title again, but like unpacking, like that is what that is.
We never stood a chance.
And I think it leaves room for
really
polyamory. It leaves room for queerness. It leaves room for like going against the grain and doing that on purpose. And like the relief, like what I feel for this is just the relief at like being given permission to each other to like be weird, do it different, make it up together as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. We literally talked about that in the last episode.
Yes.
Well, and also in the very first episode of the pod, because we talked about being child-free by choice, and how we've had a lot of these very poignant moments where we sort of look at each other and we'll like say something out loud, like, "Are we allowed to feel this way? Like, is it okay if I don't want to have kids, or if we don't want our family to look the way that other people say it should?" And then we sort of like. Yeah, like you're on the same page, right?
Like,
We're cool. We're like, woo, okay, great, awesome. We can like unpack that. We can get that off of our plate.
Yes.
Excellent. Like moving on to the next thing that we should make fucking
yes.
weird. Yeah,
that is the best. I mean, your combo Chiron is still in Virgo because it's in Virgo for both of you, and it's in the 4th house. So like, again, we're unpacking families of origin stuff. We're moving through those things. We're developing discretion around it because like. It's really easy to like idealize our parents and be like,
absolutely.
I was little and didn't have responsibilities, even though it was terrible in these ways. Like, what a beautiful family. It's so easy to do that. And like what you offer for each other through witnessing is being like, let's do this a different way. And let's talk about the ways that this was harmful and how that's like continuing. And like some cycle breaker stuff, not shocking.
I feel like we do a lot less whispering now, than a lot more like megaphoning. Like very loudly, like, oh, you guys are still doing it that way? Weird.
Wrong. Yeah.
That is really the goal, going from a whisper to a megaphone.
Yeah.
Keep that in my pocket.
I feel so... like my brain is full.
Yes, this is how it feels to leave astrology class. Where I'm like,
I know. Sometimes you come home and you're like, I gotta show you this and this, and it's like get the pens, the drawstring out, and you're gonna map this
with
thing out.
the little board, and connecting all of these dots. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
It's very much that feeling, like your brain is really full, and if you don't put it somewhere, you're like, what if it goes away? I have to tell someone else about it. Yeah. Lucky
No.
for us, this exists for posterity. So
Does this make me an astrology girly now?
I think it does.
I had my first reading.
Welcome to the club.
I think you might have been an honorary one before, but you're like
Oh.
definitely in it now.
I just want the hat, just a little hat with a tassel. Like
Move that tassel
Yeah.
to the other side.
baby, I will make you a
it's like
hat.
pre-K though. This is like let's be.
We'll
for
make you one
me.
of the paper ones that they give kindergartners with like the
Yes,
brad in the top.
yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, great. Stay tuned for that. I want to say thank you so genuinely, sincerely for being here. I appreciate you guys so much. Obviously, I am an astrology fangirl, but I feel like there is just so much depth and like
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it just
that,
keeps
like,
going. And I learned about the
Asteroids.
the asteroids today.
yeah, I know. There's 2 asteroids mentioned
never
today
told
that
me
I'm like,
about
I don't know
them.
what those are. Because I didn't know what they were. We're learning together.
I feel like that
baby.
now. Yeah, this has been incredible.
But no, I appreciate you guys both so much for being here. Thank you for helping us like tease out the nuance and talk about this in a way that like also I think probably makes more sense because we have a very particular way of communicating about
we do.
things.
Yes, we do.
So
Thank you for having
And
us
also-
and being
yes.
vulnerable with us.
Yes,
It's
of
been so
course.
fun.
And please,
Yeah.
if you would like to hear more astrology
Yes.
goodness, please go check out your guys' podcast.
Yes, I'll
Mutual
link.
reception.
Yes, I'll link Mutual Reception in
Yes.
the description of this video and then also in the show notes. Seriously, go subscribe. I really love your guys' podcast. I think it's great.
And stay tuned because we're going to have Mickey on to talk about purpose.
I'm so excited. Yeah. We're going to do a little tradesies. I'm so excited to be on your guys' podcast and chit chat with you guys. So if that is up by the time that this goes up, I will also link that in the description. But if it's not, you can turn on notifications and subscribe to their pod and then you'll just get notified when I'm on
You'll
there.
just
So,
know.
all right, cool. I think that's it. Do we have any wrapping up notes? Sick.
We fucking did it.
We
Hell
did it.
yeah. Thank you for being here. Love you the most. If you made it to the end, don't forget to subscribe and then leave us 5-star reviews because it does really help the pod. And that's it. We'll see you guys for the next one. Bye.
Bye.
You didn't wave.
Should we do it again?
Yeah.
Okay, well now we have to. Do we normally wave at the end?
No,
I
I
don't know
just-
what- Oh, okay. Well then I didn't know we were doing it.
We should wave. I think
let's
it'd be cute.
wave.
Okay. Thanks for coming. Bye.
Bye. I'm keeping all of that in too.
Perfect.